Is this thing on? I think so. What's up, everybody? Thank you for joining us today for Tuesday Feelings with Ricardo Sturdivant. Tattooist and artist can join Ricardo once a week to talk with other artists in real time about art, collecting, experiences, texts, and more. We are beaming out to several different places, so if you are watching, let us know that our streams are working by tagging a friend who loves tattoos or letting us know where you're beaming in from. Of course, positive reviews are always welcome. All of these Reinventing Network shows, art jams, drawing groups, interviews, panels, I could go on. All of this could be watched anytime at reinventing247.com. We have several weekly drawing groups and shows as well that you guys are welcome to tune into or even hop on the call with us. It's actually really easy and fun to do. You can also set reminders for our upcoming events on our YouTube channel, Reinventing the Tattoo, or catch us live. Sundays, we're live with Jason Leeser for Skill Set Sundays. This is a great show to bring something you're working on or have questions about, and you can get a straightforward, honest answer in a judgment-free atmosphere. Mondays at 9 p.m., we have our evening evolution class led by the legendary Guy Aitchison. The first trimester is underway now, and the second trimester is kicking off towards the end of May. If you'd like, head over to classrooms.reinventingthetattoo.com to find out more or to check out our new learning platform. Tuesdays, right here, are Tuesday Feelings with Ricardo Sturdivant. Wednesdays is the Tattoo Now show with upcoming guest Amy Nichols from the Apprenticeship Diaries happening live tomorrow. Thursdays at noon, you can join Fawn Baker and Jordan Rookus for the Tattoo Collecting Podcast. Aside from these digital events that we're always doing, there's several real-world upcoming events that we're gearing up for. You guys can catch the whole crew at Hell City in Columbus, Ohio on May 20th to 22nd. We have friends over at the Indianapolis Tattoo Expo that appeared on the Tattoo Collecting Podcast last month, which is happening June 10th to 12th. Tony Urbanic's show, the Rubber City Tattoo Invitational, is one that we're excited to go to on July 29th to 31st. And again, you guys can catch us in Phoenix, Hell City, August 26th to 27th. Before we kick off with Ricardo and other guests, let's shout out to our sponsors for helping provide this awesome content to you guys for free. We've got Alex at World Tattoo Events. He's got the largest, most comprehensive resource for tattoo events in the world. This month alone, there are 44 tattoo events in March. Also, thank you to Raw Pigments, an e-company that is tapping into the source with acrylic-free pigments that have been impressing all sorts of artists around the world. Also, Tattoo Now, thank you, Gabe, for some technology for tattooers that's been going on for decades, really affected the lives of many. And you can see his work at tattoonow.com. And the founder and inspiration behind Reinventing the Tattoo, which we spoke of before, Guy Aitchison. You can find his Biomech Encyclopedia, DVDs, machines, paintings, and more at guyaitchison.com. Also, a quick shout out to our affiliates, Fireside Tattoo Network, the Apprenticeship Diaries, and eco-friendly tattoosupplies.com. Like I was saying before, throughout the show, we welcome positive comments and reviews on these channels and would love for you to follow us. To join in this live stream, what you're going to do is go to reinventingthetattoo.com. You're going to scroll all the way down to our calendar and click the event that you'd like to join. In the event description, you'll see a Zoom link. You can click it, check your video and audio, and you're in. If you'd like to host a Reinventing event like this or to sponsor the community, just send us an email over to management@reinventingthetattoo.com. Now I'm going to get out of here. I'll probably stay on just a little bit to, read off comments. I'll have my browser open to share inspirations, references, and all sorts. But now it is the time for the wonderful and always amazing Ricardo Sturdivant. How are you today?
Hey, thank you for the introduction. I appreciate the kind words. Thank you so much. I'm doing pretty good. I'm doing pretty good today. Just another Tuesday morning. You know what I mean? Here we are.
Absolutely. And we also have Josh joining us today. Great to see you, Josh. He's probably going to hop back on. Yeah, and we were talking a little bit before the show began, kind of about the premise for today, which is clients and dealing with them and all sorts of stuff. So yeah, lots of good things going on.
I am in the background here to make snide comments about things.
Well, you've seen a lot in all sorts of walks of life, Gabe. I think that comments are invaluable, whether or not they're snide or not.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, it's always good to be able to voice them, and then for people to be able to make a decision on whether or not they can feel like they agree with it or not. You know what I mean? That's the best part. So yeah, it's another Tuesday Feels, and like some of the feelings today have been dealing with pushy clients. people that are mostly trying to test your bounds, your boundaries. They test anything that you have set up as far as your procedures and things like that go. And I have a few things to talk about, and I'd like to kind of get some input from all of you guys and see how you might feel about it. First and foremost, what's the initial reaction that you might have to it? And then secondly, what are some of the steps that you take to kind of help maneuver around these situations, this scenario?
Hey, Ricardo, before we kick off your conversation, we do have guests coming in. You might hear that little sound. We've got Bruno, so welcome, Bruno. And Allie K has just entered as well.
Hello, guys. Thank you for joining.
Hey, Bruno.
Hello.
You're not in Wisconsin, are you? You're not in Illinois, are you?
No. I know, dude. I'm like jealous. Look at Bruno's background, man. T-shirt. It's 10 a.m. in the morning. Look at that.
Hey, real quick, Ricardo, could you get your iPad to be horizontal just so the camera fills it up?
Yep. No problem.
Awesome.
A little bit better.
Yeah, it's back to like 30 degrees here, but yeah, perfect. There we go.
All right. Cool. We also have Allie in the house. Allie, welcome. If you have any other questions or anything like that, just throw it in the chat.
Hey,
yes.
Thanks.
Good morning, Allie. How's it
Good
going?
Morning. It's going well. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Yes,
perfectly.
we can.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yep. Yeah. Thank you guys for joining in. And it's a pleasure to be here with all of you. We'll take a second here to introduce everybody, but maybe we can talk about some of the topic first, and you guys can kind of give us a little introduction and give us some input, kind of keep this flowing a little bit better. Today, I was wanting to talk about clientele. Like I said, how your procedure works. I've been tattooing for 23 years, I think, and I've developed a method where I conversate with a lot of clients. I sit down and I book about an hour with each person that wants to come in. That way we can sit down and talk thoroughly about their ideas. We can go over any reference. I can explain to them in detail how I do not want to take an existing tattoo and replicate it. We run into that a lot these days, I think, with Pinterest and with Instagram and just more accessibility to tattoo artist portfolios. And it generates a lot of buzz for people because I think with clientele, a lot of times they don't know how to exactly express what it is that they're looking to get tattooed. So they see an image and they're like, that's it, exactly. Sometimes it's a mood that they see and they don't realize it. Sometimes it's the black and gray element or the color element that they like. And sometimes people just straight up want that exact tattoo. And I spend a lot of time explaining to them the no-no part of that. For me, if I was to do a tattoo and I saw somebody steal their tattoo, I'd be kind of upset about it because it's a lot of investment on my part. It's a lot of investment on the clientele's part. It's a lot of monetary value that goes in with both of those statements. And it's something that a lot of people don't understand coming in, because sometimes, especially nowadays, people are coming in getting larger and larger tattoos, which requires a lot more investment on both pain, endurance, fatigue on both the client and the tattoo artist, and the money is a very realistic part of it. I discussed earlier about the hourly rate. I discussed earlier about the deposit that goes towards the price of the tattoo. It also secures the appointment times for me, because most of the time tattoos of larger scales are 2 to 3 appointments at 6 to 8 hours each time. So that's a lot of things that we talk about. One of the other things that I try to discuss with them that has been an issue for me recently has been sending the drawing to the client. I've been dealing a little bit more lately with people coming in from out of state, which is to me, I'm very fortunate to be in that position. I'm very fortunate to be able to tattoo every day regardless, but I have these people coming in from out of state, so it makes it a little bit more difficult for them to be able to set aside time and come in and take a look at the design, right? So you run into this problem where normally what I would do is in my practice is I would have them come in and we discuss the tattoo, the drawing that I have done, any changes, we write down on the notes list. We go over any renderings that they want to change or anything that they don't like. And a lot of times it's really fun to sit down with them because there's things that I might not see that they want to change it. It makes much more sense once we actually sit down to draw it, as far as the composition goes even. So I've been coming into this problem lately where I've done I've made 2 different drawings for this person, and I've sent them both to him. And it's become a pretty sensitive issue with the 2 of us on maneuvering around the fact that what we end up doing is going back to the original design, which is he's trying to get me to do more of the actual tattoo that he's presented as a reference. And I keep going back to the fact that that's not going to be the case. And I think that if that's what he's looking for, that maybe it's better that he talks to another artist that might be comfortable with doing that. So I think that's something that I want to present with you guys and see how some of you might feel about kind of scenarios kind of like that, if you've dealt with it, or how you would go about approaching that with the clientele. What do you guys think?
Let's flip it over to Bruno. Bruno, what's your opinion? And if you'd like to do the introduction as well.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks, Lauren. My name is Bruno Salvatierra. Find me on Instagram, Christmas_art. And it's always a pleasure to hang out with you guys and spend a little time and talk art, tattoos, and everything else. Tuesday feels, Ricardo. So it's definitely a thing that comes up, a lot. And I think that at the end of the day, every client is different. So every situation is different. But I have definitely seen that pattern, especially when someone brings a Pinterest image or an image of a tattoo that they really like. And of course, communication is always going to be key during the consultation. Like the consultation time is very important, I think, just to clarify a lot of things like what Ricardo was talking about, and kind of clearing up, because the clients, most of the time, they're not gonna know the things that we know. They're not gonna really know like what we go through and everything. So giving them a little bit of an idea, right, of what goes down, understand, or at least they might put themselves in our shoes for a second, and that always helps the situation. But with the Pinterest thing, or with the tattoo that they really like and they bring you, usually the first thing that I'll tell them is that I'll be happy to help artists work. It's something that I don't like to do, and but that I can always inspire. You use the image for inspiration, right? And create something in my own style. And and they're usually all about it. They're like, yeah, I respect that, and it sounds good, this and that, right? But the thing is that a lot of the time they're like I will draw something very, very similar, but with with my own style, and they like it. But like Ricardo was saying, they're very much attached, to the original image, and it always ends up going in a circle, like Ricardo said, exactly. Like, yeah, I like it, but how about and then they send me the image again, and they're like, what about
Right.
And so I obviously it's a good time to have patience and to remember that this is important to them, and it's worth the time to create what they want. But there are times where unfortunately the client is so attached and so set in the tattoo that they're looking at, that they sent you, that no matter what you draw, no matter what, like how cool it is and how close to the tattoo it is and everything, because in their mind they're so set, so attached, that nothing that you give them is gonna be what they want. And so that's a really tricky situation, because at that point, what do?
Yes.
You let go of the client because you just don't want to, or do you keep trying, right? Do you like do it again? Like, for example, I had a similar situation, and I had to ask for an additional deposit because I had already spent a lot of time working on one design, and and then they changed the design. They changed their mind a little bit, because I made the mistake of sending them the art way too soon, only because I had time to get to it, you know? And so I wanted to make sure that I was going in the right direction. And it seemed like I was. So they were like, yeah, keep going. I love it. And I kept working on the design, and, you know, it was just never enough. So I don't want to take up so much time, but it's a tricky situation, you know, it really is. And at the end of the day, you know, just communicating with the client and trying to find a way out, right? But sometimes there just might be, you know, a situation where you just have to tell them, look, I'm sorry, but I just can't do that.
I like that, Bruno. I really agree with you too, man, because I like the way that you use the word attached, right? And that describes it almost perfectly, I think. I think that's what I've been searching for, is what is it that's making this so difficult? You know, and I think that is it. I think that a lot of people that want to be able to explain what they want tattooed can't illustrate it, right? That's why they come to us, but they don't realize that they're attached to that image that they that made them realize that that's what it is that they want, you know, as far as the elements go. So I like that a lot. I think that helps clarify a lot of things for me as far as the feelings and like the emotions behind it, because I put a lot of time and effort into like both of these drawings, you know what I mean? And I'm not saying that I'm jaded or upset by that, because it's been creative for me regardless, but it is a lot of time management, and there's a lot of effort that we put on our end that they don't understand. Like, you know, it was like every day getting a message, hey, any new progress on the drawing, any progress on the drawing. It's like, man, I really wish I could tell you yes, you know what I mean? But I'm tattooing full time too, and drawing for these other tattoos as well. So, and that's what I've been dealing with a lot this year, is trying to figure out how to manage that schedule. And I think that might be part of what's going to help out for me on my end, is days that I actually work, and then days that I actually have invest into the business end of my venture, and as well as you know, actual productivity for the tattoos, you know. So I like that word though, attachment. Thank you for your input, Bruno. I appreciate
I think that when that's the case, you know, when there is actually an attachment that strong, it's actually a really difficult situation to solve, you know, like it doesn't happen that often, thankfully, right? But I think that when it does happen, when they're so attached, like there really isn't much that you can do, you know. It's just that person's attachment is so strong that it's just that type of situation where you either do it or just kind of. But
the goal is to have your artwork be what's drawing people in, right?
Right, exactly.
Ali, do you have any insights?
Sorry, you were cutting off. What'd you say?
So I was wondering if Ali had any insights into some of the difficult clients or managing people's ideas.
Yeah, so look, we bought a house last year, and it's
congrats.
Bruno talking about the attachment. Thank you. I think that it's kind of like buying a house. You know, we would go into some of these homes and you picture yourself living in it. The client pictures themselves with the tattoo already, you know, and they have that preset idea in their mind. But I do think that, you know, much like you guys, it's our responsibility as the artist to kind of shift their focus a little, you know, take their idea and run with it, and talking them into letting us do that. The one thing that I find, I think we were talking about it last night with Guy, was, you know, are you talking them out of a design to talk them into something else that they may or may not want? You know, because it's what you want to do. You know, but I don't know, we have responsibility there to kind of, you know, take them and take their hand, you know, and lead them away from the same old stamp that everybody else has.
Yes. I agree with you.
Agree.
If I can add real quick, Ali, you said all that awesome stuff, but we didn't find out where you are and how to find you. Do you mind?
No, not at all. Thank you. So I'm Ali, and I'm in Alabaster, Alabama, which is central Alabama in the United States. And you can find me through Living Water Art Studio on Instagram and Facebook.
Awesome. And we have a few more artists here. Jason, welcome. And Medusa's coming in as well. So awesome. For those of you just coming in, we're talking about clients, and Allie and Bruno had just shared. So Josh, welcome back. Do you want to share who you are and what's going on with you today?
Sorry, our home can you hear me? Yes.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Our home internet connection is absolute garbage, so we're working on getting that fixed by tomorrow. I may end up dropping off again. Right now, I'm using cellular.
Well, thanks for joining us, man. One way or another, it's always good to have you.
And Jason and Medusa, welcome. Good to see you guys here too. Josh, you're unmuted now if you want to chime in on your thoughts about clients and what we were talking about before as well.
Oh, I've found it useful to manage expectations up front. So basically, during the consult process, I always make it pretty clear that I draw for appointments as they approach. So you may not see your art until you come in. I do everything digitally. So if you'd like to change anything, we can definitely do that on the spot. If you're not happy with it, don't get it, because I don't want to put anything on you that you'll regret. So speak up. And if we have to reschedule at that point, that's on me, not you. So your deposit's safe and sound. So just managing those expectations up front, I've found is really helpful for me. Yeah.
Okay. But the question is like, when you do present those up front, and that's the situation that I'm dealing with right now, which is when you do approach it in the same manner that you normally would, right? Like when you do perform the same practice that you always have, if it's established for you, you found that it works best for you. Like Gabe brought up earlier before we went on live camera, was that some tattoo artists are so comfortable with their approach that they can draw the tattoos directly on, and they come out immaculate. You know what I mean? And I will do that from time to time, but I'm really trying to push my art in a different direction. So what I'm trying to do is create the image, try to get it as close to fully rendered as possible, especially if it's color, right? Because I've always felt like in my situation, I've always felt that I've struggled with color, or not struggled with it, but understanding the purpose behind why I put green next to this lavender, or red next to this like ochre or something like that. You know what I mean? So with your established practice, and then you start running into this issue, that's the question. I think that's what I'm trying to propose for all of us, is like, what do we do then? You know what I mean? Like I think the goal is to try to be as flexible as possible to maneuver the scenario, but not give in on your boundaries at the same time, because that's the entire intent of your practice, is to have those boundaries established, right?
I mean, it feels like if you're always trying to guide somebody into like the positive mindset, right? So instead of like that, you can't do that, or you can't do this, or I won't do this, or I won't do that, be like, this is what I do. This is, but like to some degree, if they're not going to, play inside of the boundaries, then they're that you graciously send them on their way. But and then think about ways that you may have been able to communicate that better on the front end. But
there you go. That's a good way to think about it right there. Like the communication part is the key part. And so like, it's almost like we're learning to communicate a little bit more thoroughly, or a little bit more in an adaptive kind of manner, right? Because I mean, no matter how much we press on people that this is the way that we perform it, this is what you're going to get, this is the reason you're coming to me, because you like my art, and you keep trying to get me to change it. Like, what is it that you're coming to me for, first of all? If you're wanting me to replicate this image, then why don't you just talk to the artist that did this tattoo and set an appointment with them? Is usually what I usually end up saying to somebody. You know what I mean? And I do it in like a little bit nicer of a manner, but it boils down to that for me. Like, if you want me to replicate this image, you should definitely go to this person that's going to do it the way that you like it. Because no matter how hard I try to replicate that, it's always going to be a rendered image that I've created. There's always an abstraction to it. Even when we draw from life and things like that, when we replicate an image, there's always an abstraction to it because it's through our own filter.
Ricardo?
So, yeah.
Might I, just a little observation that I've made?
Please do. And Jason, introduce yourself and let us know
So
what
hi,
you
my
got going on.
name's
Can you flip your
Jason,
camera
and I'm
sideways?
addicted to tattoos. This is the right group, right?
Camera sideways.
Sorry, Gabe. There we go. So Ricardo, I think I know why you keep getting people coming to you asking to replicate images. And this is supposed to be a satirical answer, by the way, so prepare yourself.
Okay, I'm got my boots strapped. Let's see what you got.
Good. When you introduce yourself to people as Mr. Xerox, there's going to be a problem, and they're going to have a certain expectation.
Yeah,
Xerox machines, copy machines. You know, you have to, as long as it's clearly established, and this is something I picked up at the Explorer Tattoo Conference that I was just at. By the way, I highly recommend. It's absolutely incredible. When you establish the fact that I will not replicate images, and that is put up front in writing, very clearly established from the get-go, and people still decide that they want you to replicate an image, keep their deposit.
Yep.
That's what you have to do. In fact, a lot of artists that I got to talk to at the Explorer Tattoo Conference, in order to book anything with them, they actually have you go through and fill out a digital form. Some are through Google, some are through their own designated platforms. A lot of them are through Google, believe it or not. And that's part of the form. They have, and I have to quote Teresa Sharp here. She was one of the presenters at the Explorer Conference. She says she will not book an appointment with any individual until she has what she refers to as a list of demands.
Yeah,
okay,
that's a good one.
It's a certain list of, she's holding that artwork hostage. She has a certain list of criteria that people must, they must abide by. She has a certain list of demands that people have to meet if they want to be tattooed by. And she puts everything right up front in writing. These are my expectations. This is what I expect from you. You've seen my work, so you already have expectations of the kind and quality of work that I do. And I'm willing to meet that, but you need to meet this criteria first, right?
Managing the expectations. Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
So she'll go through and do that, but it's all clearly stated in black and white. And she makes the deposits that people put down pretty high. Like, these are no joke deposits. Like, to the point that you're going to be vastly upset if you end up missing your appointment.
Yeah, and it also weeds
but these are different types of tattoos too, right? I mean, I'm all for that. That is a fantastic process, and everyone should be going for that. And I think we're talking about 3-hour tattoos here for people that are kind of walking in.
Well, it's the principle behind it, though.
100%. I'm down with the principle.
As long as you have it there in writing, then no one can complain. And they should never go to you and expect something that you're not willing to do.
I do like that. I do like what you're saying, because like that's the opportunity for you to present to the client that, look, no matter what you produce as reference, I'm not going to replicate it. It's always going to be used as exactly as is, as defined by the word reference. You know what I mean? So that's all there is to it. And I agree with that. I agree with it completely. And I also agree with what Gabe said, but what I am discussing is like it's a sleeve, it's actually 2 sleeves on a pair of people. And they'll be coming in and we'll be working on them back to back 2 days in a row, one person one day and another person another day. And I just think that a lot of times what I've come to understand is that a lot of people have different types of personalities, where there's like some type A type personalities, if that's even still a thing, or is referred to as type A people, where they have expectations and they will push them on you regardless of what it is that you've already discussed. So you find yourself saying the same things over and over and over to them, repeating yourself. It's an hourly rate. This is the way we're going to do it. No, I will not tattoo you. We've already discussed that it's going to be you and the other partner the next day. You know what I mean? It's hard. And I think a lot of people don't understand that there's a workload that comes with that.
How are you?
If you have to repeat yourself more than 3 times.
Yeah.
Like if you're like saying something, this is the, if you have it in your process, you have it written out or whatever, or somebody walks in and you explain it, and then, the next time you're talking to them on the phone or in the email, you have to explain it. Like by the time you're explaining it 3 times, like, hey, this is not clearly not an appropriate fit.
I think you're right. I think you're right. What about you?
And
Medusa?
how close are they trying to get the sleeves? Like, are they really trying to like just like seriously detail out every part of it, or is it like I mean, clearly they are. I guess it's what the issue is.
Yeah. That's basically what's happening. Is that I've discussed that we can use general placement even, but I'd still like to change the subject matter as far as like placement goes and things like that. Like they're wanting the same subject matter in the same place and almost done exactly as is, and I've discussed that. It's like, no, we can use same subject matter, but it's time for us to kind of like elaborate it in our own way, like between you and I, or even in my own voice too. So, and like I don't understand it because it almost comes down to the point where me sometimes where it's like, well, you might know that there's a difference between pricing, and some tattoo artists will charge double what I charge an hour, and they get way more work done than I do, and they get the product that they're looking for, a super realistic tattoo. So it's almost like, are you coming to me because you're just trying to save a buck? Or what is the deal here,
And that may be it. That might be it.
Yeah.
As sad as it is, that may be the reason.
What do you think about this, Medusa? What is your opinion on it?
I wanted to go back to. Wait, am I muted?
Tell us who you are. Tell us who you are.
Yeah. Tell everybody where you're coming from, Medusa.
Oh, hi. I'm Medusa. I'm in Portland, Oregon. I work at Lady Luck Tattoo. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
I slept in. It's that my West Coast time is far too behind you guys. But I wanted to go back to the Teresa Sharp list of expectations. I feel like that's a really, really good idea, but also isn't that kind of only applicable to people who are like, 5-6+ years in? Like for us beginners, we're kind of still stuck in the, just doing whatever the customer wants, I guess. I feel like haven't developed a style yet or enough clientele to be able to be picky about what we get a tattoo.
Yes. And that's totally fine. That's where you should be. That's the stage at which you should be at that point in time in your career.
I see what you're saying, though.
But there's a base level too, right? There's also a base level of like, no matter how experienced you are, like, or no matter where you are in your career, there's a baseline of what you can do and what you can't do. But it's a shades of gray for sure. That's kind of what I was bringing up earlier. Is that when you're an ink master and you're doing bodysuits and stuff. But to Bruno's point, he's dealing with somebody who's looking for his sleeve. But
yeah,
what are your sticking points, or what are those points? Yeah.
It's the idea of like having something in written, right, to provide to the person interested before they commit, so that they can have, as best an idea of how you like to go about things and what are the things that you don't do. Like maybe, obviously Teresa Sharp is a very specific situation, but for every artist's stage, according to where you're at, you create your own, written, I don't know what you want to call it, but something written that once they're ready to give a deposit, they can go over the things that you do and don't do and how you work. And then they can choose from the start if they even want to work with you, right? And it doesn't have to be the same things, it could just be the way that you work, as far as like the time that you spend on a design before you require another deposit. Or like letting the client know, like he was saying, reducing expectations.
I think that was the ultimate point I was trying to get at. When you get to that stage that Ricardo's at, that I'm at, that you're at, when you get to that stage where you define the type of work that you do, you need to have it in writing. Put it in writing up front. And I think that's the ultimate point I was trying to get at, was put it in writing. That way there is absolutely crystal clear communication. And if they still decide to be that way for some weird reason, that's on them. And if they don't like it, that's fine. They don't have to like it, but this is what you do. And if they decide to go to someone else eventually after they leave a substantial deposit, that's fine. Go for it. by all means.
I
But
think
you
it
have
would
put
be
it in
important
very clear writing. It gives you a justification, and a precedent that you have set, because you're putting that in writing. You can say, no, no, no. By filling out this form, you acknowledge all of the above. I have specifically stated I'm going to draw whatever it is the way that I draw things. I'm going to make the design changes that I feel appropriate. And you have established that from the get-go.
Yeah.
I mean, and then one step further, right? You can use that as often you could and should be using that as part of what your theme is or messages are out when you're marketing.
Also, we have Faith that just joined. Welcome. And if you can hear me, can you flip your camera so we can all see you? Do you want to introduce and offer any of your perspectives to everybody?
Morning, Faith.
Morning.
Isn't my camera right?
It's flipped horizontal for some reason. There we go.
Like that?
So how's it going for you today?
Like that or not like that?
That works. That'll work.
It's going good. Just came
Want to tell everybody who you are and all that good stuff?
I am from wingcolor.com. It's a free art education program in digital design. Undergoing some changes at this exact moment, but I've been busy with that. I used to come to these all the time last year, I guess. But I'm just saying hi. I don't know what else to say.
So we're talking about clients and the design work and all that good stuff Ricardo has brought up and is going through right now.
Like there's a lot of moving parts. There's the price issue. If you charge more, possibly that could weed out some of that. And then there's also, I don't know, I feel like that could possibly solve some problems. But as far as starting out, there's some people that they effing want what they want. Come in and they want that. And you have to either just do it for them or send them to somebody else or convince them to do something else. And sometimes you can't. And some people it's like they can't understand. Some people don't understand there are the different levels of tattoo work. And you know what I mean? Like there's established artists, there's new people, there's different kinds of shops, and they don't really understand. And it's just communication breakdown. And it's part of the job though, I guess. You know what I mean? Just try not to let it get to you ultimately, I think is what I try to do. Like I try to just fight your battles.
Sleeves are a big commitment too, huh?
Huh?
Like sleeve clients are big commitments. That's a lot of time with somebody.
That's the thing, and I agree with you, Faith, and I think that's a lot of great input because like it does come down to like exactly what it is. First of all, you have your initial reaction to it, like, well, I thought we've already discussed this. There's frustration, things like that come into play for sure. And I've been dealing with that quite a bit. Like I've actually sent these drawings to Jason and Bruno and Kier, and they've seemed to have liked both of them that I've drawn for just the one person. And there's been 2 other renderings of 2 different sleeves for the other partner. So and it is a lot of investment, Gabe. You're absolutely right, because it's taken a lot of time and effort on my part. I've put off a lot of other things in my life, a lot of things that I normally would do, like go to the gym. Like the past couple of days in the mornings, I haven't been going to the gym, and it's something that's important for me as far as setting my intention for the day. That is something that's important to me. And I've skipped that for a few days now, just so I could get up earlier to draw and then be able to prepare for my tattoos that are already existing on my schedule for that day. And then for that to be met with, well, that's really cool looking. I don't think it's that great, but I think you could change some things, and they wanted to go back to the original reference. And you're like, okay, so first of all, you're telling me it's not that great. Okay, cool. I'm trying to hear you out. What is it that's not that great about it? Like, is it the actual art that you don't like? Is it the way I'm drawing it? Or is it the fact that it's not what you want in particular? So the communication part, like Bruno said earlier,
And sorry, and one of the things I was getting at with the commitment is like the time that you're putting in is now, but like you're setting yourself up for a bunch of sleeves. Like that's, years sometimes,
that's true.
That you're going to be spending, 4 to 6 to 8 hours, with, where you're saying maybe even back to back,
Mm-hmm.
those clients, you want to make sure you are communicating with properly, or they're receiving it, or you're getting it out, and it's got to be cool.
Oh shoot!
I'm sure you're also developing some sort of
Wow, that's amazing.
Very nice.
Wow.
That's my luck for the day. It just landed right side up.
I was thinking too that you can kind of start to develop some sort of relationship, and I think when it's got this type of dynamic and you're working hard towards something and it's not reciprocated, it affects the overall relationship between artist and client. So I think that, like, instead of going down that road, I think a series of, like, in the form, series of questions like, is this exactly what you want? If no, then no. It's just taking you down the wrong trail. But it is a yes or no question, at the end of the day. But it does suck that it's affecting your life. I mean, it's just really hard to explain that to someone who doesn't live it and know it every single day.
Exactly, which is part of the problem that presents itself in its own way, right? Which is exactly what it is. Like, people bring reference in the sense that they can't describe what it is that they want to get tattooed, especially with larger images. You know what I mean? So they see a tattoo and they're like, yes, that's it. But the problem is that you need to. It's not necessarily a problem. It's more of an educational kind of thing where you have an opportunity to discuss these people. Like, this is a tattoo that somebody's invested a lot of time and effort into, and money and pain and the artist that has put their life into this image. You know what I mean? Like, so I think it's so crazy to me. Like, every time I go to a convention, for example, when you sit there and you see all these tables with these portfolios, when we used to have portfolios on the table, and people would just literally just flip through a page like this, and then go to the next one, do the same thing. It's like you're looking at pages of hours and hours of work and effort and time and, like, staking yourself into this investment. You know what I mean? So, like, it's a lot easier for these people that don't know that to be just like, well, it's just not that great. It's not what I'm looking for. And you're like, dude, I put a lot of time and effort into this, man. Like, let's talk about this.
So that's why I've been looking at a lot of Shige's work lately. Someone that I really look up to.
He's an amazing artist.
And they put down at the bottom of the page exactly how long it took to do that from start to finish.
That's a good idea.
And then that way, when people look at that, they start to understand the amount of time that person has committed for that project.
That's interesting.
He's definitely had contracty type deals going with his clients for a significant amount of time.
Yeah.
He's serious about it.
And he'll put down the start dates, like started 2008, finished 2012. Approximate hours 140.
Yeah, I just finished the leg sleeve yesterday, and we were trying to estimate the amount of time that it took. I had to go back to the appointments to look at them, and it took us over 30 hours to finish this leg piece. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, and she was invested. I mean, like, here every other month, every month, once a month, twice a month. It's like, dude, that is a lot of time, effort, and money that this person has put into them. So for somebody to look at this tattoo on the internet and then be able to just take it to another artist, and the artist try to replicate it as closely as possible, that sucks, man. You know what I mean? And that's something that we should try our best to try to kindly and politely educate our clients on. And that's I think that's where it comes down to, is like, I've done this, I've practiced that, and I've done it, the same thing that I've done with every client that brings in reference like that. But the point is that but they're not budging. You know what I mean? So what do you do? At some point you have to make the decision. And I think for a lot of us, that's a hard thing for some of us to do as people, as humans, to make that final decision, just be like, I'm done. It's over. I'm going to walk away from this as politely as I can. So that's, I think, sometimes is part of the dilemma. It's like, how do you cut that? How do you sever that tie?
How do you break up with a client?
Exactly. You know what I mean? And sometimes that's it.
I had to.
Go ahead,
Medusa.
I am obviously too early in my career to have much experience with breaking up with clients. I did have to break up with one client. And my reason, I think were good reasons. They showed up high. They no called, no showed on several of their appointments. and, you know, didn't communicate and at one point had disappeared for several months. So, you know, there's different reasons and everything, but I was just gonna say, I feel like for every client you have to break up with, though, you're still gonna get like 10 more because you did an awesome piece right before them.
Right. Right.
I personally think too is like any relationship in life, establishing like was previously said today, establishing those boundaries first. So then that it's not on you, because this is a burden you're facing. But at the same time, it's like if you put that wall up and it's very clear at the very beginning, it's a lot less emotion involved. You can just revert back to that. Well, this is what I said in the beginning, and then the conversation is ended easier without such an emotional toll.
Mm-hmm. That communication is very much key, being clear from the very start. Even the fact that you can explain to them that, you know, usually from experience, you know, when you try to control the design too much, it doesn't really favor the process of the creation of the design. From experience, it really doesn't. You know, when the client tries to micromanage everything too much, it inevitably creates a distortion in the process and help. And all of that can be communicated, you know, in the appropriate time. And communication, I think, is so key in this particular situation.
Bruno,
but there are some unreasonable people too.
Yeah, and that nailed it, dude. The micromanagement part of it, for sure, because what you're trying to do is produce your art for their ideas. And then when it gets micromanaged, it's almost like when somebody comes in and they want a portrait of somebody, but they're using the same person, but there's like all these different angles. I like this eye angle, but I want this mouth from this picture over here, and I want you to put it all together. And it's not going to work, right? Like no matter what you do, it's not going to work. It's going to be morphed. It's going to look off. It's not going to look natural. And I think that's part of the problem, is like exactly what you're saying too, Bruno. That's the other thing that I'm dealing with, is that micromanagement becomes, it stunts the overall image. You know what I mean? And you end up trying to produce something that you're not naturally, you know, prone to producing as far as your artwork goes. Can you learn from it? Is there something that you can render in a different way because of it? Yes, I think that there's an adaptive quality there for sure. But I think that it does overall end up just stunting the piece, and it doesn't even look like something that you would do. You know what I mean? So, and that's the other dilemma for me too, is like, I wish we could live in a world where you could trade things still. You know what I mean? Where you could trade efforts, like trade, you know, things you can do with your hands for something else. Yeah, you know what I mean? That'd be awesome, because money sucks, but it's a reality that we have to deal with daily. You know, it forms the world that we live in. You know, it helps us with our health. It helps us with our social status to a certain point. You know what I mean? The car we drive, everything. So it sucks, but I'm not going to do something just for money, right? And I think that's the point that I'm trying to make, is like, I'm not going to do something that I'm not comfortable doing just because you're going to pay me an hourly rate for it. It's not going to happen. And I think that's another deciding factor for us that we have to take into consideration, is how important is this for us, and what does it do for us long term, you know? And I think Medusa said it pretty well too, when she said that if you fire a client, that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to lose clients. There's more room for other clients to start. You know what I mean? That you can both, like, and like what Lauren said, is like, understand that boundary and like connect on the fact that this is your presentation to begin with. So it's good. A lot of cool talk today. Lots of cool talk.
So Ricardo, when you talk to the client, how is the tone now as it exists? Is it more of like a friendly? Are there like, do you sense that it's going the wrong direction, or how do you jump to that conversation? Do you dive right in? How's it going now?
How's the conversation going now? The conversation now is very business. I tried to be informal but formal at the same time with everybody. You know what I mean? To begin with, like right out of the gate. But it's definitely become much more business oriented than anything else. Like checking off the lists and going back to the texts or the emails and looking at it and checking them off as I do it, as I present the picture. I've done this for you. I've done this for you. I've done this for you. You know, I've added these things that you wanted, but I'm still not going to give you exactly that tattoo. So it's very much business now. It's become much more formal.
You
I
gotta,
mean,
there's a large sales element to it too, though, right? Like having like a rapport, having like getting clients to do. I mean, ultimately, it really depends whether or not you have the product that she wants. It comes down to product, and then it comes down to whether the ability to sell it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying you can or you can't, but there's like, you kind of have to like, there's like an entertainment part of tattooing. At least there was. I don't know if there is in every case now, but there's like that excitement going to the tattoo artist where it's like you have to like be on. Have you ever heard that before?
Yeah.
You know, to
like
get
presenting to the show.
You have to like be on and sell the tattoo, get them to do it, but ultimately you can't sell it if that's not ultimately what they want. And if they're going to compromise, if you're completely uncompromising on anything, you sound like you've been completely like doing what they wanted and being reasonable and communicating with what it was. It might be either not the product or it's not, like it could be the price then again, you know what I mean? So it just goes in circles until you find that bottleneck of what's really affecting it. There's just so many. It's been no shows are bull. Those are just all around.
No call, no shows hurt so bad, especially if you've like spent so much time on the project, like hours and hours and hours into this drawing, and you're ready, you get your station set up, and then like a half an hour goes by and you're like, cool, I only get a deposit for something that was already like more of my time than that was worth. That's so
getting
painful.
no call, no showed. I love it.
Yeah, it's simple.
I do.
I'm not
I
gonna,
absolutely love it. Because that is a lot of money that I get for free.
yeah.
I guess if your deposit's high enough.
Well, if you're still upset when you get no call, no showed, your deposit isn't high enough.
You have a very good point, my dude.
You should be happy when you get no call, no showed with those deposits.
Does your deposit change according to?
Yes, usually.
That's a good question.
Jason.
Yeah, so the bigger the piece, the bigger the deposit.
Okay.
Yeah, because it comes off the last part of it. It doesn't come off the first few sessions.
Yeah.
It comes off the last one. They want to book another appointment, say they no call, no showed because they forgot it was little Timmy's birthday, right? That's great, but number one, you should have remembered your kid's birthday. There's your first mistake. Number two,
fuck little Timmy.
Why did you not put that in your calendar and remember it that it was there when we scheduled the appointment? You know, like that. You should have done
your
that.
lack of organization is not my issue.
It's not your lack of organization and lack of planning is not my responsibility. That is not my fault. Right. Why should I have to pay for that?
That opens up a whole nother can of worms. Because a lot of times people do expect you to kind of guide them through it or hold their hand through it or make them go through the door. You know what I mean? So yeah.
No, sorry. No.
Yeah.
That's not my job. That is not what I get paid to do.
I agree with you.
You know, you are not getting paid to be a Xerox machine, Ricardo.
Yeah, so I agree with you, man.
So don't be a Xerox machine. And if they don't want to pay it, keep the deposit and tell them that they're better off going to someone else.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
Like Medusa said, it's not gonna hurt you. You know, you do amazing work, you put all your love into it, you know, it's just there's no loss there. You know, it's just you're just making the right decision for yourself and after you gave it your all.
So send them to somebody who would potentially be able to do it, and or just preferring somebody two sleeves as a if somebody else that could deal with a personality type or whatever, and or give them another education.
Gabe, you bring up a really good point because that's as tattoo artists that do larger pieces. I think so those of us that do large pieces quite a bit can kind of attest to that, or like contribute to that point is you do spend a lot of time one-on-one with these people, and sometimes there are personalities that don't mesh very well, you know what I mean? So sometimes that's something to take into consideration as well, I think. But is that something that's learned as an experience, you think, or is it something that you can kind of pick up on right out of the gate?
You know, I would when people ask like what classes they could take that aren't art classes, like psychology classes, like just being in tune with like the way that artists are and clients are. I mean, it sounds like you already kind of have a, you know, you kind of are an archetype, you know, type A, but you know, whatever the, you know, maybe it's more nuanced or whatever, but like, you know, that just might mean that you find someone or know someone. Again, mostly I don't want to like suggest you pass on problem clients that are trying to get like exact replicas of masterpieces for cheap to somebody. But on the other hand, you know, if it's two sleeves on a client that's kind of, you know, of a personality type that you can see fitting, you know, those are, you know, like you were saying, it's a significant amount of dough, you know, and work. So if there is, you know, an art, like, so there's two types of people to pass them on to. One is somebody who might be able to, you know, fit with a client and get a great, you know, work out of it, or somebody who might do it and just also give them a good education. Be like, no, you can't copy an exact replica of a fucking, you know, Steve Moore sleeve or whatever. It's just not going to happen. And then maybe they come back after they've learned more.
Yeah, good point, man.
So I think a lot of it comes down to, like, we've sort of been, everyone's been dancing around it, but it's product market fit. Is this client someone that you want to work with? Like, is that your ideal client that you want to serve? Because if it's not, then it's not a product market fit, just it for you, and it very well could be for somebody else. So
well, I think that brings up a really good point. When you're
perfect, Josh, thank you. Go ahead, Melissa.
Oh yeah, well, when you're trying to find the clients you do want to serve, you want to find your demographic. How are you guys like going about marketing so that you're attracting a certain kind of client and not just anybody that wants a tattoo?
Well, you think about the client first.
Yeah, I was going to say, actually, to that point, Josh, can we turn this around and say, Medusa, can you identify what kind of clients you're looking to identify? And maybe we could brainstorm around that particular.
Start where the waves are, and then go surf there. So you start with the clients you want to serve, and you figure out what they want, and then you deliver. But on that point, I've got another meeting to go to, guys. It's been awesome listening. Sorry for dropping a bomb right before I left.
That was a nugget, man.
Awesome,
Thank you.
man.
Thank you, Joshua.
Yeah,
Does everybody know how to get a hold of you?
Oh, I'm really difficult to get a hold of. Like, I avoid social media.
Entirely awesome.
Do I have to send a Raven?
We can send Raven.
Yeah, you can send a Raven to Kentucky. I don't know. I'll be back next week and I'll drop some contact info somewhere.
Okay, cool, man. Well, good
easy,
luck on
everybody.
your meeting, dude. Thanks for joining.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
Great thoughts. And actually, I think we should dive into that. So Medusa, like, could you let us know like a couple of types of clients that you're looking to attract or tattoo, and then maybe we could come up with some ways that we might be able to do so.
I find guerrilla marketing what I had to do in the beginning. But go ahead.
Oh, I
Sorry
was just thinking, like, I didn't have anything in mind. I was just thinking generally, how are you guys going about marketing yourselves to a certain demographic? Like
what demographic are you thinking? Like, because every demographic is different. I mean, we might have some similar tools, but.
Oh, I guess I don't know if demographic would be the right word, but you know, do you want to attract clients who are punctual and prepared to spend money rather than clients who show up late and try to haggle?
Yeah.
Right.
So
Cool.
what I'm hearing you say is that you want to attract professionals that have disposable income, correct?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Men or women?
Either.
Okay. What generalized area of the country? There's a purpose behind all of this.
Okay.
Yes.
Like, are you trying to market locally? Are you trying to market for
Start
other
local.
places that you're trying to visit?
Start local.
Because if I'm drawing up designs, say I want to go and visit Bruno in Miami. Well, there's going to be a different demographic that lives in Miami. They may want different things. People that live in LA may want different things than what I usually do. So I'm going to try to draw some stuff so that I'm productive in that area, right? That's why I asked what region, what age range. Pick a 10-year span.
35 to 45.
Okay. What do they do for a living? Are they business professional? Are they baristas? I mean,
I print business cards and go anywhere where people spend money or make money. And I look for people with tattoos and I go say hi to them. If I'm going to like a new town or something like that, that's just guerrilla marketing. You go find people basically. And if you don't do it that way, then you got to find people on the internet, or you got to find a way and get the shop owner to help you, or get a shout out on the internet and publicize stuff. But for me, it's always been guerrilla marketing. Like whenever I'm in a new town, or if I'm, because it's.
So I'm going after a very niche market. Okay. I'm not, and this is all coming from a seminar that I just took that Russ Abbott put on while I was at Explorer. So that's where I'm getting all of these ideas and asking all of these questions. So a lot of this information is coming from people that are very, very successful in this business. The question is, who do you want to market yourself to? Maybe not right now, but maybe in 5 years. You want to market to people with money, right?
Yeah.
Because you don't want to market to people that can't afford your tattoos or your hourly rate.
No,
right?
no,
That makes sense.
no.
That makes
Hell
sense.
no, man.
You want to market to people that have disposable income that like tattoos.
Yeah.
Right.
Money.
Otherwise, you're going to be stuck getting 18-year-old kids coming in for their first tattoo. And that's great. That's great. You can make an entire career off of that. But me personally, as a human being and as an artist, that's not who I want to tattoo. I want to tattoo the people looking to get large scale custom work. That's my market. And I'm specifically looking at, just like yourself, people of any gender, but that make X amount of money in income and have disposable money. People that are looking to collect artwork, as opposed to people that are just looking for a tattoo. That is my market. Specifically, people that are very interested in historically more Asian themes, right? Which, of course, I'm going to put my spin on, and I'm going to look up, the history and the culture and the references. That's who I'm marketing myself to, because that's ultimately what I want to do. Now, not saying that there's not a lot of money and there's not a lot of business doing other things. You might want to market yourself to, you're up in Portland, let's see. You might want to market yourself to people that grow marijuana from, which is totally cool. Okay. So instead of targeting the people
I agree with that. That's totally cool.
Making the marijuana, target yourself to the CEOs of the company.
That's
The
like
people that
every
make all
other
that.
person in Portland.
He just named every demographic.
Yeah, it is like there's dispensaries in Portland, like there's Starbucks in Seattle, man.
Which is awesome, but that's where you need
Dunkin's
to
in
figure out
Massachusetts.
what is your market. You know what I'm saying?
Place
And who's got the money there that you can capitalize? So I'm just trying to get you to think more forward. Hold on,
I like this. I like
have to
these
go wrangle
specific
my
questions.
Yeah, it's and that's the thing that I'm starting to realize in my upper years in tattooing and life as well, is like, what have I not done? What have I not done? Because I've always only just relied on artwork or word of mouth, which is invaluable. Word of mouth is like one of the best things that you can utilize for sure. But there are some things that we do need to do to grow, which are some of the things that we've always avoided. And some of them are exactly what Jason's talking about right now, which is the business end of our business, right? And I think That's kind of what this whole topic has been covering, is like the business end of our business. And it's hard because a lot of us don't have that kind of mindset, you know what I mean? So this is a good place to go and get that happening, especially like on Gabe's, the business front of reinventing the tattoo. And it's awesome.
I think you touched on a very important thing. At the bottom line, at the end of the day, this is a professional industry.
Yes.
This is a professional job, a professional career where we deal with things and look at things in a very business sense.
So it's also morphing. It's morphed so much tremendously over the past 20 years for sure. You know what I mean? Like where it has been just a hangout kind of place, you know what I mean, for a long time. And there is still that element and things like that that can happen. Like what Faith was talking about was like the hangout fun tattoo spot, you know what I mean? And like that still is there to a certain point, but it is becoming more and more typical for people to have a tattoo rather than 20 years ago where you'd be the only person in the room with an arm tattoo, you know? And it's changed tremendously. And like it is important for us to kind of recognize that and possibly even adapt in a capacity that we've avoided this whole time, you know?
What you're saying right now is I find myself saying that to clients a lot. Like sometimes I just like you try to explain to them how it's different now, kind of, or just at least what you're doing is different from what maybe they were used to or what they get elsewhere. It's hard. So I find it's like every day you kind of have to, a lot of clients you have to repeat and say that. Like, look, there's.
So circling back a little bit to Medusa, so when you identify the types of clients, right, that you're looking for, you obviously got a pretty good overview. Then and you hammered out a couple of points. So then what you want to do is after you identify those, then you use those points to call out and to use as identifiers or as lures inside of your marketing, right? So just I don't quite remember them, but like, you know, you might, if your posters that you're putting out on the streets, you know, to the street marketing aspect, you know, the call out might be, you know, looking to get a time, but sick of lazy tattooers who, you know, waste your time. You know, we're punctual here, right? With an image that's somewhat similar, or you know, that might be a little bit obvious. But like each of those points that you identified, you use to attract, you know, the right people. And I guess, and ultimately, I've always tried to, you know, so out street team, out market, you know, I want to market to the right people while still accommodating, you know, if, I want to attract the best in class, but I don't want to like do it at the expense of like, you know, isolating or turning off newbies. Cause I also want to help educate people that are just fresh off the street, you know, whether they want a kanji, you know, or a sleeve that day, I'd love to educate both, you know, people that are completely walking in fresh, as well as, you know, people that are looking for those, you know, bodysuits.
I also think it's important to produce what you want to create.
Exactly.
You know, if you have clients that are looking for like bubblegum pop stuff, that's what you want to do and you want to create, or you want to bring in those clients, then you need to produce bubblegum pop looking stuff and, you know, let your clients see that again and again and again and again. Maybe you take one tattoo out of your week that a client requested and turn it into something that you wanted, like your style of artwork. And then just keep, you know, re-upping that on your social media.
You guys stick with your brand 100% on social media.
And I think that's where I'm coming from with this whole thing is that's what I've been doing this whole time. And I've even asked the client, like, you've looked at my portfolio, I've tattooed you extensively already. This is the way we worked before, and then this is the way that I thought this is what you were wanting. Yes. But guys, this has been a great conversation. My client just showed up for the morning, and we're going to be working on his tattoo here pretty soon. So I just wanted to say thank you, everybody, and maybe we can give a shout out around the room, and everybody can tell us where they're all tuning in from, and we can do this again next Tuesday.
All right, Bruno.
Yeah, it's been a great one today. It was great chatting with everyone. I'm in Miami, Florida. You can reach me on Instagram, Christmas_art, and Bruno Salvatierra. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Right. And
Thank you, Bruno.
Medusa.
Hello, I'm Medusa from Portland, Oregon. I work at Lady Luck Tattoo. You can find me on Instagram at Medusa Slays with 3 S's at the end, or medusaslays.com. Thank you.
Right. And Allie.
Hey, Allie from Alabaster, Alabama, and you can find me on Instagram and that long since dead thing called Facebook at Living Water Art Studio.
Awesome. And Faith.
Faith Wynn. I run wincolor.com, WYNN color.com. It's a free streamlined art education program for tattoo artists and digital design. And I have a new color system coming out and just now releasing a book. So you can check that out. And it's the same thing on Instagram, which is WinColor.
All right. And Jason.
Hi, my name is Jason Leeser. I'm in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, or the suburbs of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. You can find me on Instagram at Philly Inc.
All right. And Ricardo.
Cool. Thank you guys again for joining us today on another episode of Tuesday Feels. Thank you for letting me drop how I did feel about this scenario with the client. I appreciate it so much for everybody's insight. My name is Ricardo Sturdivant. You can reach me here every Tuesday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern time on Instagram at Candor Tattoo. That's CANDOR Tattoo. Feel free to drop a message. I've been getting a lot of positive feedback about some of the earlier charcoal drawings and stuff like that. So thank you everybody in the Instagram world for that. And thank you all you guys for tuning in. And I appreciate it so much. Thank you, Lauren. Thank you, Gabe.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah. Thank you guys. And